You know that as soon as you hit record, the inspiration just plummets.
Yeah, that
Like
was my
Keith
bad.
Richards.
I was hoping there would be people in the chat already to tell us how we sound, but no such luck.
No.
I should have put my jammies on. Why am I sitting here in my dashing outfit? Oh, because I didn't have time, because I had to shove food in my face. You just missed Rolling Stones talk? Not exactly, no.
No.
I mean,
Hey, Bogart, how do we
kinda.
sound?
In the very loosest sense. It was more of just a general rock stars and drugs commentary.
Hell yeah, rock
Which-
stars and drugs.
Yeah, I mean that's like saying, I'm not coming up with an exact analogy, but
You got your rock stars and my drugs. You got your drugs and my rock stars.
yep, exactly. There we go. That's the meme of the hour.
In other news, fishermen get wet.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Insert
so
something about the sky being blue. How do we sound, Bogard? This is Brian, by the way. I am not Dirk. If Dirk sounds like this, we may have an audio issue.
yeah, Dirk might
What,
be
me?
dead. Dirk sounds like Brian.
No. I'm just thinking of all the the rock references. My favorite was Sugar Ray. I think it was Sugar Ray did a thing where what was it, the Africa trip where all the rockers were going to go do Africa, and one of the stories he said was, Ozzy was in his seat and it's supposed to be a dry flight. The whole thing is supposed to be dry, and Ozzy got up to go to the bathroom on the flight. He came back, and then like 5 minutes later, he had to get up to go to the bathroom again on the flight, and he comes back to his seat, and then he pees himself. And it was like, oh, so the whole reason he's back there because he's hidden a bottle and he's just taking a shot every now and then. So, and it's just like, oh well, I guess this isn't going to be a dry flight after all. Thank you, Ozzy. Oh man.
All right then. I just appreciate.
And now a little something different.
I just appreciate Weird Al for being so big for so long and not having any sort of like convictions or drug problems or harassment problems. He's just like a good guy and I think that's why he's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I've been on the Weird Al should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame train for years now.
Oh yeah.
Because he's been around and relevant since the freaking 80s.
And influential.
And influential.
Did you see the song he did after the first Trump-Biden debate last year? And it was Chef's Kiss. And I'm like, yes, Weird Al still bringing it.
Well, one thing I still like is that when he did was it Amish Paradise, that when there was the tiff over that, he's like, oh no, I am so incredibly sorry, I thought this was the case, and he profusely apologized for any feelings or anything that he heard or trampled everything. He was incredibly apologetic. He was not out to create ripples and anything of that sort, and that's says a lot about someone's character.
Yeah.
That they're willing to apologize when there was a mistake made.
And then at
Who
some
got
point later,
offended at
Coolio was
Amish
like,
Paradise?
"Yeah, I overreacted. That was my bad." And I was like, "You damn right, you overreacted. You do not besmirch Weird Al."
I'm trying to think of who would be upset at Amish Paradise. It's awesome.
Well, Coolio.
Yeah,
Oh.
He was upset at first.
Because it was a take on his song.
I get that,
Yeah.
but and I'm not an artist, but I think that, imitation is a serious form of flattery, especially when it's clearly a parody, but not my song. So I guess if you
I'm,
didn't get the rights to it. What's
yeah,
that?
I'm still of the firm opinion that all around the best concert I ever went to was a Weird Al concert at the Durham Performing Arts Center. Thomas and I went several years ago. He got us tickets and some pretty good seats, and just everything, the the sound, the performance, the costumes, the lighting, the sets, the AV stuff going on in the background. It all around. It really is still the best concert I've ever been to,
Hmm.
My
and it
favorite
was just fun.
my favorite Weird Al nugget of knowledge is apparently when Al asked Kurt Cobain if he could do "Smells Like Teen Spirit." Cobain said, "Is it going to be about food?" And Al was like, actually, and it's going to be about how we can't understand your lyrics." And Kurt was like, "That's awesome. You should totally do that." I don't know if that's true or just apocryphal, but I love that story
I've heard.
nonetheless.
I'm pretty sure I saw an interview where it was Al saying that. So if it's apocryphal, that means he made it up.
And he doesn't seem like the kind of guy to do that, so. So, by the way, hello, we're doing a Dorks Just Chatting. In case you can't tell,
Yeah.
I'm Chewie. Over there is Brian.
Yo.
That one right there. The one over there looking shady, that's Mike.
That's not
Hello.
me.
And the one over there, no, not, I don't know who that is. The one over there, other side, yeah, that guy. The one that looks vaguely perturbed, that's Dirk.
Yo.
There we go. Ow! So, yeah, originally we were going to do something this week, but life sort of was fighting against us. So I said, let's not force it. We'll just chat. So before I let Brian to get into his quote unquote 30-minute conversation, which is going to take 2 hours, did you guys hear that? So this weekend was Labor Day weekend, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And over Labor Day weekend, Dragon Con happens. Excuse me, that was buh.
Does it usually happen on Labor Day weekend?
It always happens on Labor Day weekend, yeah.
Okay.
And this happened there. I'm dropping a link in the Discord chat. They kicked out at least one vendor for selling AI art.
Oh.
They were like, no, GTFO. And they removed the vendor, and someone put up a little sign that says vendor removed for selling AI art, #art by humans. And I saw another picture that I did not save anywhere, that like this empty table turned into a little shrine of like notes about how AI art is crap and art by humans is awesome. Just people would just leave a little like a little note, and other people would add to it or stick a sticker on it with something written on it or something, and it just grew over the course of the weekend, and that made me very happy. Because I don't know if you can tell by how, let's see here, woke liberal cuck snowflake whatever that we all are here on this show, but AI art, that ain't art. Sorry.
No.
That is a machine doing a crappy impression of art. And if you're like, I'm an artist and I do AI art, no, you're not.
Oh. You dick around on your computer.
Yeah. What you are in terms of real artists, if you are the person who's typing prompts into the AI art, you're not the artist. You're the customer who is telling the artist what they want, and then the artist makes it for you and then gives it to you. Like you're not the artist. Sorry. You're like, well, then I open it up in Photoshop and like do stuff to it. No, you're still not an artist. You're just touching stuff up. I'm not an artist. I open stuff up in Photoshop and do stuff in it all the time. Not an artist. Sorry.
I just find it
Not sorry.
fascinating in a sad way how every time in the 80s and 90s we would look to AI as the future when we weren't imagining it was Skynet or, the machines from the Matrix. And AI was going to remove some of the mundane parts of our lives, some of the more difficult, burdensome tasks, so that we would have more time to be self reflective and to engage our passions. And it's like the exact opposite has occurred. The more we have mechanized production, there's been this great outcry of it took our jobs, and we got to make sure that we have these entry level or manual labor jobs. So instead, AI is being used to replace our art, all the stuff we were supposed to have more time to do. Instead, it's taking up that space so that we can get our asses back to the office.
Well,
Anybody
Yeah.
else
it's
find that?
actually so that the rich CEOs who would used to have to pay a human to do the creative stuff don't have to anymore. They can just go. By the way, AI is not AI the way we used to think about it. This is generative.
No.
It's called generative AI, but it's not artificial intelligence. It's just doing an impression of what it thinks you want. And
Yeah.
like it's solely so all the rich assholes can spend less money on humans. Like I saw some idiot that was using it to write. Brian, you'll appreciate this, to write motions because it takes longer, and you have to pay a lawyer to do that when you could just get ChatGPT to do it. And I'm like, oh
There are
my
many idiots
god!
out
And I
there who have
really
done
hope
that.
that a judge kicks them directly in the face. And I seem to
There,
remember
there,
seeing one where the
That has
judge was
happened.
like, "What is this?"
there. A couple of years ago, an attorney got in a lot of trouble for he didn't have time to completely prepare his motion before an appeals court, so he used ChatGPT. And associate at his firm is like, yeah, this is the newest thing. It'll be great, and it'll write this for you. It's kind of like when kids would go online. I guess they probably still do this. Go online and like, give me an essay, computer, and somebody else has already written it for you. Well, the problem here is that the AI made up cases to support its point and cited them, but
Ah, I
when
remember
the
that
appeals
now.
court,
Yeah.
yeah, when the appeals court was like, you referenced this State v. Bernard, St. Bernard or whatever, and that case doesn't exist. The attorney had to admit that he had not read his own motion in brief. So, but yeah, then there was another one in the last couple weeks where there was a pro se, meaning someone representing themselves, in front of a panel, and he prepared an AI presentation, and the panel of judges were like, shut it off. If you just want to talk to us about why you should win your case, do that. Do not give us an AI generated lawyer who's not even a lawyer. Like this, they were so offended by this, and I get it, that you can't use this stuff to shortcut the process. Even if he wasn't using it to wholesale make up stuff, I think he thought it would look better if someone that looked like a lawyer was talking. So it was this video of someone in a jacket or something talking like they were a lawyer, and they're like, why even do this? What is the point? And no, we're not going to let you do it. So Yeah, it's not AI, it's not like an actual like free thinking thing. You put in something and it says, "Here's what I think you want." And the problem is it can lie. So if you're trying to reach a particular
Yeah,
outcome,
the technical term is a hallucination because lying implies that there's some intelligence doing something on purpose. But no, it's just
Yeah, well,
it's
hallucination
just
makes it
completely
sound
waking
like
out.
it's not its fault.
Well, because it doesn't have any agency.
Yeah, but it still is its fault. It's doing exactly what it was programmed to do. Way, way back when the whole I don't remember if it was ChatGPT or a different one, but one of the earliest things I saw someone had posted a screenshot about it was something in the Sandman, like the comic,
Hmm.
and I can't remember what it was now, but it was something that was like, hey, where did this happen in the Sandman? And it goes, oh, well, on this page in this panel, the author clearly states blah blah blah, and I was like, I've read it was from A Game of You. I do remember that, which is the fifth book of the Sandman, and I'm like, I've read this dozens of times because back in the day I had book 1 and book 5, and those are the only books I had, so I read them a lot. So I've read Preludes and Nocturnes and A Game of You more than like all the others. And I went, it absolutely doesn't say that. So I went and got the book, found the page, and I was like, it's not here. And that's when I read further, down the comment thread. And someone's like, yeah, what this is doing is when you say, give me whatever the prompt is, you need to add mentally in front of it an impression of someone. Like, give me an impression of someone answering this prompt. Like, make it sound good. Because it'll just say, yeah, because it sees other, yeah, all of the crap that's been used on the internet, all the stuff that's been used to train it. People sound confident. They're like, yeah, clearly it's this on this page in this panel. So it goes, all right. And that's all it does. It just goes, yeah, it's on this page on this panel, even though it's not there. It doesn't know it's not
Well,
there.
and not even that. I mean, the result that it gives you might not even appear anywhere in the training data, because it's not doing some kind of curated and search on the topic that you're asking for.
Oh, yeah.
What
What
it
it's
does
doing is it's
is that
looking
it
at other
returns.
people
What it
that
does is that it
are.
returns. Well, no, not even. It returns a string of words and sentences that have a high statistical correlation with each other and your question. So if you're asking about something that's been talked about a lot, like actually we use this to brainstorm. It's like, oh, good vacation spots. People write tons about vacation spots and blah blah blah. You'll get a ton of information. And if you're asking a non-specific question about something that there's been a bunch written about, you're going to get a pretty good paragraph of brainstorming. But if you're asking about anything specific, and especially something specific that probably hasn't been written about very much, you're just going to get a lot of words that happen to be that have the best in its mind correlation with each other in the context of your question. So its answer might never have been written anywhere. It just happens to have a better statistical score than other stuff it could have come up with.
Yeah. When I say the stuff it's trained on, I don't mean in response as far as the specificity of the answer. I mean in the style in which it answers.
Yeah.
Because when people want to bring up evidence of something that they're arguing about that happened in the comic, they will say, well, if you look at, this issue on this page, on this panel, you'll see that. And it goes, oh, so when people want to prove something that happened in a comic book, they say this. So I'll say this.
That's a good point. Yeah, I didn't get where you were going with that, but you're absolutely right. Yeah, it's going to focus on material about discussions about comic books, so it's going to pick up on how people write about it. Yes.
Yeah. Right. And comic nerds, as you know, like all nerds, are the worst.
Oh, they're the worst.
Like, they're super confident in everything they say, even though some of it isn't actually right. Like,
And making assumptions with very little story or I guess screen time, but comic book equivalent. Making huge judgments about what is going on and character thoughts and all of that. Yes.
yeah.
And applying their own biases and expectations, confirmation
Mhm.
bias.
But then,
Grok, go ahead.
stating it the same, like the AI, the generative AI doesn't actually know all that stuff that you guys just said, but it will state it
Yeah.
like the people that do that in the manner that they state it, which is always
Right.
very confidently, matter of factly. It's plain to see. It's right here, idiot. And so it was like, well, clearly on this page it says this, and I'm like, and it was something. It was some sort of anti-trans thing, because that's part of what a game of you is all about. And I'm like, I'm 100% certain that's not there, and it wasn't.
Well, and I think something to remember. Well, there's 2 points I want to make to this because this is an interesting topic. First is, again, it's bound by the humans that help make it, that kind of set up its parameters. Isn't Grok is the thing for Twitter? I'm not calling it X.
No.
And like there were some complaints a while ago that it's too woke because it would reference things and be like, yes, January 6th was an insurrection. Yes. Da da da. And so they took it off, they tweaked it, they brought it back, and all of a sudden it went from being quote unquote woke to like, yeah, the Nazis were really cool. This was awesome. And people were like,
it
what
called
the
itself
hell?
Mecha Hitler.
Yeah. Which I shouldn't laugh at. I laugh
But
at
it's
it,
really funny.
but
It's very funny.
but this is a series of equations, and that kind of leads me to my second point. Everybody has had an experience. If you're a gamer, especially when you were a kid, that you were like, this game is out to get me. This game is delighting in me, and it will not let me win, whether it's a jump you can't make in Mario or a difficult opponent in a puzzle game or whatever. And at some point, you feel like it's actually out to get you, and then you have the realization the program is literally you put in button sequences and it's responding. The game does not care. The game does not care if you win, lose, if this is your 5th time or your 50th time. Even if there's like a, hey, you've lost this 10 times in a row, I'm going to unlock easy mode for you. The game itself has no emotions. And this sounds super basic, but when you're fighting that one guy in Punch Out and it's so um we're keeping this PG-13, so it's really frustrating and it totally is out to get you. You can lose yourself in that moment and it can be like, this thing really hates me. But point is, the program does not care. And the AI does not care if it does a good job or not. It's just an equation or a series of equations. The people that use it care, but
Yeah. And this whole rise of like sad and lonely people turning to generative AI to be their friend. Like, man, I've been lonely too, but they're not your friend. They're a thing that just says what it thinks you want to hear. Like,
And there's also AI slop to deal with too, where they just say, what if a country was an animal? And then just flood the internet with just garbage like that over and over.
Yeah, that's a whole other problem. But like using a chat friend as a friend substitute is not gonna, it's not solving your problem, it's making it worse. Like, you don't have a friend, you have a robot that like I said, it says what it thinks you want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's not a friend. Like there I love these three dorks to death, and regularly I want to smack each and every one of them, and I'm sure they want to smack me. Like, you gotta have some friction there. Like, you will never have any sort of friction. There will never be a difference of opinion. There will never be any sort of, oh, I can't do it that time. Can we let's go for next week, you know? Like these dorks trying to schedule D&D, which is hilarious to listen to as someone not in the group. Like
He's not wrong.
it's always just going to be like, yes. So you're not learning to deal with people. You're not helping your loneliness. It might feel like you are. That's just dopamine. You're not actually solving your problem. So like there are better ways.
I'm pretty sure that if you're looking for an analogy and everything, there was a Futurama episode about that, where Lucy Liu was the guest star. Well, it's between The Simpsons and Futurama. They're like, what are the possible points in our society that we're going to hit? We just sort of check them off. All right, which episode hit things in which order in the real world? But there was the Lucy Liu where she guest starred, and people kept downloading people into robots so that way they could be like, this character is my friend and everything. And so I feel like they hit on that topic of people being like, this robot is really my friend, this robot really loves me, and them being disconnected from the real world.
Exactly. Anyway. So going back, AI art is not art. It's crap. So there. Yeah, I said it.
I don't think any of us are going to disagree with you on that point, which doesn't mean it's not a valid point.
But yeah, none of us are going to argue that with you.
Well, yeah, I know you guys
No, it's not just crap.
But I was reiterating.
It's been iterated.
Yeah.
And then again.
So now what we doing?
So I'm just, since we're just chatting and we don't really have any constraints on this, I'm going to talk a little bit about...
Oh, are you now?
So, who here has played one of the Dynasty Warriors games?
Nope.
Oh.
Maybe
Anybody
on one
know
of
what that
demo
is?
stations at a video game shop.
Okay. Who
My
here is
kids
familiar?
have.
Your kids have?
They played Hyrule Warriors.
Nice.
Okay.
The first one or the second one?
Age of Calamity.
I think that was the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So, who here is familiar with the historical period of China known as the Three Kingdoms?
Nope.
I have.
Somewhat familiar with it.
Okay, I was going to say, we're all dorks here, and I know Dirk used to watch the History Channel, like, for fun, before it became, like, all
Swamp
aliens all the time. Yeah. So, I was like, okay. So someone that knows more about this than me, do you want to, without going into, like, every minute detail, my knowledge of this is kind of surface, and I'll come back to why in a minute, but what was the Three Kingdoms period of China?
My understanding is that is the second split that, and I could be completely wrong, but there was the Phi Kingdom period, and that was when the Qin Kingdom officially united everybody, was when there were 5. And then there was an emperor, and then central government collapsed, and then it collapsed into the 3 kingdoms. And then was reestablished later into a unified kingdom again. I'm super oversimplifying it.
That's all right. This is not a history lesson. So
But there were several splits in terms of Chinese history, as to my memory. I'd have to go look up more into it. But
you mean
yeah,
you mean a single one of the largest populations in the world has not maintained the same system of government for thousands of years? What? So, um, we have talked about RPGs and things on this show. And I think when I've talked about RPGs, I've usually talked about my first experience being with Final Fantasy 4/2 as it was released in the United States. Because that was my first Final Fantasy. I wanted to get Mystic Quest. My mom was told by the guy at the shop, no, get him this one instead, and the rest is history. Only lately have I realized, going through YouTube, watching recommended things, that, like, wait a minute, this game that I was kind of low-key obsessed with a while ago, might be a bit strong, but really, really liked, was my first RPG, and it is called Destiny of an Emperor, and I highly recommend anybody checking it out. You can see videos of it. It is
What
old school, original
the
NES.
I was gonna say the NES game.
Yes. Are you familiar with it?
I mean, I haven't played it, but I'm familiar with. I can't remember the name. Oh, that was by Capcom. Oh,
It was by Capcom, yes.
Hmm.
Which, like,
okay.
before Street Fighter.
I was thinking of something else.
So there have been, if you look into it, the Three Kingdoms period of China was, I'm looking here to make sure I get these dates right, from AD, or Common Era, however you want to do it, 220 to 280. It, it essentially the country was split up between warlords that essentially coalesced into three separate territories, and over some period of time, it did unify itself over a lot of bloodshed and war into one singular country again. But it was following the collapse of the Han Dynasty, which, if you know anything about history, Han is one of the major dynasties of China, but it fell apart, as you do,
Yeah, and he
and
shot first.
yeah, it took me a second, but it was before the Qin dynasty, which I'm not pronouncing these with a Chinese dialect, and I apologize. I
Chin.
just Qin, thank you. Um, but so this game I got, mom got it for me, or dad. The parental units got it for me, and it took me a while to get into it because it wasn't Mario, and I couldn't, like, push the button to jump. But this game was so ahead of its time because, first of all, it's long. I
Yeah.
have looked, and, like, Nintendo Completes has a full playthrough on here, and a lot of games from that era, you may not have, like, you'll have some that are like a half an hour, but you might top out at like 2 hours. The playthrough, which I don't think this is even 100% playthrough, is like 12 hours, which we're used to like 40 hours, on some of the Final Fantasies. Again, NES, the amount of stuff in here is crazy. And if you load up the game, and you just kind of let it play for a while through the credits, what happened was, about 1,000 years after the end of the Three Kingdoms period, there was a novel or a series of writings that came out about this called The Romance of the Three Kingdoms. And it is somewhat arguably fictionalized because, they're writing it down a 1,000 years later. Think about, like, the writings that we have about George Washington, and some people really believed he had wooden teeth, or that he chopped down the cherry tree or whatever, and give it a couple more 100 years to embellish even more. But it does seem like, when you compare um, the historical actual records from the time, they actually get a lot of this right, but it's kind of a dramatic retelling, and it has, certain warlords are made out to be protagonists versus antagonists, things like that. Portal Three Kingdoms. Does that sound familiar to anybody?
Hmm.
It's based on that time period. And if you look at the legends from that, horsemanship and all, they are based off of figures out of that period.
And like
So
pretty directly, not like Kamigawa,
no,
like hyper
Yeah,
this was not.
fantasy version.
it's direct.
Yeah, these were interpretations of these historical figures using their proper names. So, um,
Yeah,
so
the
as you're
Three Kingdoms
good,
is massively popular in video games.
yeah,
Like
I
there
mentioned
have
that.
been between Three Kingdoms and Journey to the West, I think like every genre of video game conceivable has
Yeah,
been at least one has been made in one of those two things.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like I just off the top of my head, I can think of a beat 'em up, a third person action, multiple third person action games, mostly Journey to the West. Dynasty Warriors is
Dynasty
huge.
Warriors. Yeah,
RPGs. The what I was thinking Destiny of an Emperor was one of the Koei games. Koei on the NES and Super NES made a gazillion Romance of the Three Kingdoms games and things like that, and they were like uh, management and war simulator games,
Hmm.
which were way more advanced than the graphics could do
yeah.
on the NES.
So as you're loading this up, it says, "Hey, this is based off of the true accounts." I think there may be an asterisk there, but true accounts of this fascinating period of Chinese history. And the game developers looked at the historical records and made representations of over 100 generals from
Yeah.
this time period. And so, what it is you open with three of the central figures who are essentially the protagonists, Liu Bei and two other people, swearing to try to
It's
bring.
Guan Yu and who's the third one? Damn it.
And so I could look it up if I needed to,
Oh
but
wait, I've got it open in a tab. Hang on. Story,
this is.
story. Liu Bei, Zhang Fei, and Guan Yu. Ah, there we go.
And they are making, again referenced in Portal Three Kingdoms, the Peach Garden Oath, where they're saying, though we were born on different days, we swear to die on the same day, and we want to restore peace to China. Liu Bei was a relative, although somewhat distant, of the Han dynasty. So basically, there was a period of uprising of the yellow, either the yellow scarves or yellow turbans. The translation might determine which way it was pronounced. That essentially a large scale rebellious gang, and Liu Bei moved to confront them. And from there, so you start out with these three generals. You can recruit additional ones just in town. Somebody will be like, "Hey, Liu Bei, I want to join your army. You're really cool," and you can be like, "Yes or no." You can buy your usual equipment like weapons and armor. It was a bit frustrating that you couldn't see the statistics on the weapon until you equipped and then went into stats and okay, this is a higher number. But it was an old school RPG.
Yeah.
Then you get into combat and you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. So your people are on the left, the enemy is on the right. The enemy in the overworld is usually just something nondescript like rebel forces, and you may have, I think it's either 5 or 6 units on each side, your generals and their generals. Um, you see a bar under each one with a number that you're like, okay, that's my hit points. That's your number of soldiers. Now, if your soldiers die in battle, you go to the inn and, you get more up to your max again. So they are hit points, but they are representative of soldiers. Because of that, the higher your numbers, the more damage you do. Like each unit has a strength, so that it's kind of like a multiplier. So some are just going to be stronger than others, but somebody with a very high strength but only 5 units left is going to do almost nothing versus a guy with a low strength and 1,000. Make sense?
Yeah.
And it and For each one, you can choose an option like attack. You can use a tactic, which is kind of like this game's version of Magic, where it's a military tactic, and they were all in Chinese, and so me being me back in like 1989 or 1990 when this game came out, and not knowing Chinese, had to rely because the internet was not a thing. Had to rely on the instruction manual, and anytime I learned a new one that wasn't in the manual, I basically had to try it and see what it did. So that was interesting. Some of them would be like you set fire to the enemy. Some of them would hit multiple targets. Some of them were like you create a wave, but you can only use it if you were fighting at a body of water. And then Anne Shaw was just assassinate, and if it worked, you took the enemy general's head and they all died. So that was awesome. It was basically the instant kill. But the other fascinating thing about this is you're moving around the overworld, and you might get into a random encounter where there's actually a named enemy general. It has a portrait of their representation of that person. They may know some. They're going to have a set number of units, and they may know some techniques. At the conclusion of the battle, it says we have captured an enemy general named, and it gives the name, and you can choose to either set them free or try to convert them to your side. And if they can be converted, you can either spend money on that, or sometimes they're specifically looking for horses. You can buy steeds at towns, and some have very specific story driven conditions to recruit them to your side. If they go to you, then you take them to an inn, they heal up, and they are generally the ones that you encounter in a new area are almost certainly much stronger than the ones you've had previously.
Whoa, it was like
You
Pokemon.
as you like Pokemon, except and sometimes they use Electro Slash, and sometimes they that isn't even a move. I don't know. Electro Slash sounds like a Pokemon move, but because they're still trying to tell the story, as you're progressing, you will gain essentially party levels, but only some of your generals that the story is like these are the ones you want to be using will actually get higher HP or soldier caps and possibly higher stats, I believe. The rest just stay where they're at. So over time, even this new guy that you got, and he was really strong at that time, will become obsolete. So it forces you to build up some characters, but still be looking for somebody else. And some you just can't convert. There was one guy I know I got into an area toward the end of the game, and his bar was like across the screen. I'm like, I want you. And I think I figured out after like the 20th time that he was never going to join my side. I was like, damn. So, but it was fascinating because again, there were so many of these unique portraits and all these unique statistics. And I probably learned while I understand this was a fictionalized accounting, I learned more about that time period through that game when I was like 10 or 12 years old than any other time because I've never sat down and actually read Romance of the Three Kingdoms. I know it's been portrayed on screen many, many times in China, but it was fascinating to me. And something that had me thinking about this, and I saw this playthrough earlier in the week, and I'm like, I don't have 12 hours, but I skipped around a bit. And I just said, you know what? I feel like as many times as I've talked about video games on this podcast and RPGs in particular, I somehow miss that this was like the first RPG I ever played because I never thought of it that way.
Hmm.
But it totally is because you have characters with hit points and you can buy equipment and give it to them, and it's turn based combat. So, and there's a story. You're playing a role. So it's an RPG. But it was fascinating. And again, they do. If I've watched a couple videos since I kind of picked this up again in the last couple months, and there are definitely the historians are like, look, the novels and the video games and all that that's based on the Three Kingdoms definitely make out this person to be the enemy. And if you look at them, they were just, I mean, they were a bit heavy-handed with their punishment, but the author wanted to make them a villain. What do they say? They say that history is written by the victors. So sometimes um, it can be a bit biased that way. But it really was fun, and I'm not encouraging emulation for legal reasons, but I really enjoyed it, and I just wanted to say it was so ahead of its time, and I would be fascinating to play a game like that again, where you have some of those concepts, where like Pokemon, like Chewie said, but with Chinese generals.
Yeah, according to the wiki page here, the game has 150 playable characters,
That yeah,
which is just unreal.
yeah. Again, NES, and not even like late in the NES history. And they did a good job of there. Some of them just feel like because they're maybe like for a battle, like it's a boss at a castle, and there's lots of castles. Um, there's nothing that really establishes this person's personality, but the fact that they even have them in there is kind of crazy. And then some of them get a lot of development. Um, there's a character called Lubu, Lubu, and apparently he has the highest strength stat in the game. You see him fairly early, and he if you're not prepared, he will take you out. But from a historical perspective, he switched sides like over and over again. And you can recruit him to your side if you have a special weapon. And then at one point, you go up against a boss that's like 10 times higher than you. You're not supposed to win. So if Lubu is in your party, he's like, at the beginning of the battle, he's like, yeah, I'm going to be with him now. Bye. And you're like, but my stuff. If you don't know it's
Oh
coming,
man.
it's 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 lost to you forever. And again, this being kind of the gateway to other things, I looked it up, and yeah, everywhere that Lubu is portrayed, he is insanely strong. He was just known as an unstoppable general, and his and incredibly treacherous. Not as planning, not as calculating as some figures like Sima Yi or some of the others, but just very like I'm no loyalty to anybody. And he got a lot of time in the game where somebody else might just be like, "Hey, I'm a guy. I'm standing outside this castle. You won't get through here." And then you're like, and then you kill him, and he's like, "Oops, bye." So not everybody's as developed. With 150 characters, they're not all gonna get novelizations.
Yeah.
But so, just wanted to bring a little attention to a game. I want to say it's been overlooked. I don't feel like I've
Oh,
seen
it
as much
it
written about
absolutely
it.
has been.
Okay, well there we go.
Yeah,
Just doing
under
my
under
part.
reception here, the reception section of the wiki, uh, the overwhelming vibe these days is that it's overlooked and actually very quality, but because of its theme and the fact that it's on an NES in the relatively modern day from when a bunch of these reviews came from, it's not like appreciated as much as it should be.
I think some of the pros that I've already mentioned, like the characters, the recruitment, that sort of stuff, it does fall into some of the early NES issues. You ever play Dragon Quest or Dragon Warrior, and you know that if you want to search an area, you walk over to it, you go into the menu, you click search, and then you wait a second while it says Erdrick searches all around, but you found nothing. And so there's some hidden items where, like a certain set of armor, where you have to know where you're looking. It is not something that you're gonna like throughout the whole game. You're never gonna search every square inch. Some insane person has, and I think they're still blathering about it. It's just you don't have the visual cues unless you're standing on a treasure chest. So Destiny of an Emperor has a search function like that. And I remember going up to every pot in every town and being like, search. And I don't think any of them have it. But as a gamer, you're like, I want to look in the pot. But so it has some of the early NES failings that I think, again, a game like this, were it to be reproduced now, would be, if it was done quality, it would be a masterpiece. And I'm setting that challenge out there. I'm not a programmer, but somebody do it. Take my money.
I mean, there have got to be games like in a similar that do this, like in a modern sense. It's either there's got to be some indie game where they're like, you know what, Destiny of an Emperor was sweet, but because I don't play this type of game, I don't know what it would be. Also,
I just want to walk into some...
I can totally recommend emulation because Capcom's not doing anything with it, and the only way to play it is to go buy a physical copy, which is almost certainly massively overpriced. So, yeah, emulate it. Destiny of an Emperor, NES, loose.
See, now, ever since you said Pokemon, though, I'm like, I just want to go into some tall grass and,
Jesus Christ.
find a wild Lu-Bu and use my Master Ball.
Looks like they're going for around $40 to $50. So yeah, definitely. How is it that SNES Drunk puts it? Play this one any way you can. Wink.
Yeah. So, but hey, look at that. It was a little over 20 minutes, but not too long. Again, just talking about something that was a little near and dear to my heart, and honestly, hadn't thought about in a while. And if you even think it sounds interesting, go check it out on the YouTubes, or play it however you can. So, what else do we want to talk about?
Yeah, this looks way more interesting to actually play than the Koei games. Not to throw off on those, but like I said, those are like grand strategy.
What were they called? I'm curious to look them up later.
Romance of the Three Kingdoms.
Oh.
Yeah, there were, I think, 3, maybe 4 on the NES.
And they were by Koei?
Yeah, Koei. Now Koei Tecmo. Oh, originating from Japan in 1985, 14 installments of the game have been published over its lifespan. The most recent one was in 2020. So, how about that? On PS4 and Switch.
Romance of the Three Kingdoms 8 remake. Maybe
I
that
heard
one has
about that.
Sephiroth.
Weirdly. But yeah, there was that. There was Nobunaga's Ambition, which I think that was Koei too. Those are also grand strategy games. So yeah.
Yeah, this was less strategy. Although, I mean, you could make the argument, but it was definitely way more RPG than strategy. Like, this is not like a StarCraft game. This is...
Yeah. I've been watching Jeremy Parrish on YouTube, who, if you are into old games, I highly recommend. He's got a variety of series going on his channel where he's playing like every game in chronological order and, you know, doing videos about them. The most recent one that came out earlier this week was on Genesis. It was The Last Battle, which was the bastardized Western version of Fist of the North Star on the Genesis, and Tommy Lasorda Baseball. Most of the video was on Last Battle because Tommy Lasorda Baseball is just a baseball game. But I think they were his. There might have been someone else I was watching that was playing NES RPGs, but I think they were Jeremy Parrish, where he played a bunch of these Romance of the Three Kingdoms games and whatnot, and he seemed to really like them, you know, while acknowledging their limitations on the NES, but he said like they get better as you go.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like most games do, you know, the older a system is, the more tricks people find for how to make things work. Like, look at Super Mario Brothers, then look at Super Mario Brothers 3.
Yeah.
And then look at, what was it, Kirby's Adventure?
Yeah.
You figure out the hardware.
Yeah, or make new hardware that, like chips in the cartridge that takes a bunch of the load off of the actual console hardware.
Yep.
Which is mostly what they did with the NES.
On the Super Nintendo, the FX chip for
That
Star
too,
Fox,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
But there's a sheep coming at me. Oh my god, it's biting me. Oh my god. Mwah. I got kissed by a creepy stuffed sheep.
That's hot.
And a creepy girl. Okay, bye. I forgot what I was saying because I got attacked by a weird fluffy cryptid. I did not mention Pooples on the cryptids episode because he's sort of a one-off cryptid, but we have a never blinking sheep-like creature that eats hair and burps. Sorry, it doesn't eat hair and then burps. No, it eats burps and hair. And Renee just yelled from the bedroom and farts. But I was gonna leave
get
that
it.
part out.
I get it. Okay, it eats burps. It consumes burps.
Yeah, and
It
hair
took me a minute.
and farts. I don't know what has happened to Pooples. He was a sheep when we got him. Now he's a weird cryptid. This is what happens when you leave Renee and I alone for a long period of time.
I'll be sure not to do that anymore.
So shout out to Pooples for being a weird cryptid that didn't quite make it onto the episode. Excuse me.
Well, speaking of weird cryptids, Dirk, did you have anything you wanted to say?
Nah.
Yeah, Dirk, you weird cryptid.
It doesn't have to
No.
be about. It doesn't have to be about the game since you never
Or
played
about
it,
sheep.
But
Or cryptids.
Or cryptids, yeah. Now, we already did the cryptids episode, so.
I think there was something that I was randomly thinking, but it has escaped my brain. So no.
Don't you hate it when that happens?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, oh no, it was the AI thing. Never mind. I was like, oh, I had something I was going to bring up before the show. No, we did that already. We had the whole conversation.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'll be all right.
are you sure?
No, not at all. Mike, you got anything?
No, I've just been focusing on getting back to work today, so the only thought I was able to spare was for the original show discussion topic that we had thought of, so
We'll get back to it.
have anything else. Yeah, we'll get back to it.
Ugh.
Which do you prefer, hard cheese or soft cheese?
You go to hell.
Are you not supposed to choose?
Oh, that was not related to anything you just said.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I knew that already. Come on.
They each have their applications. In general, probably hard cheese.
There we go. I can do a soft cheese, but if I'm like doing cheese and crackers or whatever, I prefer a hard cheese. I had no idea if this conversation was going to go any further. It didn't.
God, I
I
hope
already
not.
came up with a half an hour one, so
Do you do you prefer no, I was trying to think of something that mundane and pointless and I couldn't. That's how impressive that was, Brian.
you are welcome. I've got more where that came from,
Do
but
you
I don't know
prefer a
if you want
chocolate frosty or a vanilla frosty?
it. Vanilla. The chocolate frosty is okay. I mean, it's iconic, but vanilla.
You're a monster. Yeah, I said it. Man, this is why pivoting at the last minute to a Just Chatting episode is rough, especially when chat isn't here to throw stuff at us.
Yeah.
Okay, I got something. You know what I've been fooling around with lately when I'm not streaming?
Renee.
What's that?
Well, two collections, two gaming collections actually. The Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection,
Oh.
which I've learned that I really suck at the original arcade X-Men fighting game. Suck bad. So bad.
Oh, really?
Bad?
So bad. But I did manage to beat Marvel vs. Capcom 2 with, oh god, who was my party? It was like Iron Man and Captain Commando, and I want to say Cable, I think was who I ended up sticking with at the end. Yeah. I loved the PlayStation version of Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Like, I had all of the secret characters unlocked. I had, I mean, that was the main thing, is having all the secret characters unlocked.
Yeah. That was the one that I know my brother, like, epically played the hell out of. Marvel vs. Capcom 2, specifically.
It's
I think
so good.
I think I tried it. It was at a hotel we were staying at or something, and it was in when hotels actually had arcades. And I was like,
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
I played like Street Fighter 2, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm controlling two people, and they can sub in. I felt like I didn't know any of the combos, and so I was definitely, I felt like I did not understand what I was doing the entire time.
Well,
So,
yeah. That's how arcade games work, though.
but
So,
I do know the X-Men arcade that you're referring to. I think pretty much everyone in our generation was exposed to it at some point, and I
Well, I
don't
don't know.
think.
Chewie,
Go
you
ahead.
said X-Men fighting game? Are you talking about a fighting game, or are you talking about the beat 'em up that
no,
Brian's
fighting
talking
game.
about?
X-Men Children of the Atom, which was the
Oh,
first
I,
of the Capcom Marvel games.
I assumed you were talking about the beat 'em up. So
No, I would have said beat 'em up.
then
This is
I have
the
nothing to
fighting
say because
game
I
where
never.
oh god, who were the characters? It's Cyclops, Wolverine, Iceman, Colossus, Omega Red,
Was Silver Samurai in there?
Silver Samurai. We're only missing like 2 or 3 because it didn't have a very large. Psylocke? I think Psylocke was in that one.
Psylocke, yeah. Beast? Was Beast or no?
No. The problem is I've been playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and Children of the Atom, so I'm like Shuma Gorath. Wait, no, that's something else.
Was Magneto playable or just like a boss?
I don't remember if he was playable or not.
Like a boss.
Oh, Spiral was in that one.
Oh. That's right.
But yeah, this one has
Yeah, one of our friends or cousins had it. Something like that.
yeah, the multi-arm chick for Mojo World, which I think he typed before he heard us say Spiral. But yeah, this collection has all of the Capcom Marvel-based fighting games. So X-Men Children of the Atom, which was the X-Men fighting game. Then Marvel Superheroes, which had either no X-Men or like just Wolverine, something like that. But it also had a thing with the Infinity Gem. They weren't called Infinity Stones because they were gems. Stupid movies. But and Thanos was the big bad. And then X-Men versus Street Fighter that blew everyone's mind because you had that epic thing of Cyclops and Ryu sliding together until their hands met in a handshake, and we all were like, "Whoa!" And then they did Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter. So it was just more. I think that's the one they pretty much phoned in, because it was just take the characters from Marvel Superheroes and the Street Fighter characters from X-Men versus Street Fighter, make a new game. Nailed it. But then they did Marvel vs. Capcom Clash of Superheroes. And then they did Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which is where... Which it was really the zenith. And also on here is the Punisher beat 'em up for some reason. I guess because Capcom made it, and they're like, we don't know where else to put it.
Hey guys, you remember that one? Let's throw that in there. And like one guy is like, I worked really hard on that. Please put that in there. My mom was so proud of it.
And Player 2 was Nick Fury, I think, in that. But they were the same, you know.
That's weird.
But yeah, I loved these games. You know, when I could find them on in arcades. I was always terrible at them. But then when Marvel vs. Capcom 2 came home and I got it, like I played this a lot that summer that I did the internship in at JLab, where I lived with Nana for a summer. Like I took my computer, but there was no internet. So, but I also took my PlayStation.
Nice.
Yeah, that stops at Marvel vs. Capcom 2, because Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is still available on Steam. It doesn't need to be in a collection. So,
how many Marvel vs. Capcoms have there been?
There was 1, 2, 3, and then what was the crappy one called? Was it Ultimate? That everyone hated for a variety of reasons.
I saw ads for one where the bad guy was like Ultron plus Sigma.
No.
And I was like, that sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah. But... is that what was MVC Infinite, not Ultimate, sorry. Infinite is the one no one likes. And I think that's the one that had Sigma and Ultron as a final boss or something like that.
That's too bad. I thought that was an interesting premise.
Like the art style was kind of ass. There was a lot of corporate meddling from Marvel, from what I understand, on that. There are no X-Men in Marvel vs. Capcom 3 because that's the point where it was 2017. So that's the point where like Marvel was pushing the MCU, but they didn't have rights to the X-Men movies, so they didn't want to give any sort of publicity to their competitors by putting X-Men characters in a Marvel game. Even though it had nothing to do with the MCU.
Didn't they, like, one of the reasons they moved to doing the Inhumans instead of mutants was to get away from the licensing issues with the X-Men, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But also, from what I understand, like, fighting game people didn't like it either. So, But, yeah. And the other collection that I've been fooling around with is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection.
I saw ads for that coming out as well. I have not gotten it. I've been playing Rebirth pretty much only, but how is that?
I mean, it's all of the old, let's see, arcade 8 and 16-bit games. So it's got the Turtles arcade game, Turtles in Time arcade game, the original 3 on the NES, so the one that everyone remembers and hates the damn level, the one that was the arcade game but on NES, and then the third one, the Manhattan Project, which was really good, but by then the Super NES was out, so not a lot of people played it.
I played it, but it was definitely overshadowed by like Turtles in Time.
Yeah.
So
It's got the 3 versions of Tournament Fighters. So the
which I
NES,
heard about that,
Genesis, and Super Nintendo one. And for those that don't know, those are not 3 ports of the same game. Each game is drastically and completely different.
and I had heard about that, and I had been reading Nintendo Power when the first one came out, and I did not know that they made sequels. So I also was like, "Oh, is this the same game?" But then I was like, "I apparently not." So
And then it's got Turtles in Time on the Super, the Hyperstone Heist on the Genesis, which was the same idea, but due to various Nintendo contracts, they couldn't just port it to the other systems. So it's essentially a Turtles in Time remix. And then the 3 Game Boy games, which were all excellent. Also, it's got just a ridiculous amount of stuff in it.
Oh.
Like a giant, like there's a big digital like strategy guide for each game, and all kinds of promotional material, and it's got a bunch of commercials if I remember correctly. Like it's just this giant like museum, digital museum of Ninja Turtles game related stuff. I flipped through it for like 20 minutes and was like, good God.
sounds like a love letter, which I appreciate.
Yeah. And when I went to install it, I was like, I couldn't understand why, because it's like, oh wait, I can look, I've got it installed. Library. How big is this? How do I figure out how big this is? Manage, uninstall. Nope, that doesn't tell me. Oh wait, I can sort by size on disk. This is 8.5 gigs. I was like, I could put all of these games on a freaking thumb drive, like a small one. What is 8.5 gigs? And it's just the insane amount of stuff that they've thrown in. It's like they wanted it to be a complete archive. It's awesome.
They're like, you know what? In a million years, when humanity has died out, aliens will recover somebody's Xbox, and they're gonna need to know everything they can know about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from one download. And the aliens are gonna be like, holy crap, how many gigs is this again? But they'll say it in, alien. And then they'll get to the damn level and give up.
Yeah, they'll switch to RAF right before they die, because that's what you do.
That is what you do. I beat that level many times. If anything, the level actually that I could not get past was the next one.
Yeah,
because
me too.
there are so many. You have to know your way around, and there's so many hyper precise jumps that if you do not jump exactly correctly, you'll die. Old games were punishing. New games now, the kids these days, but new games now are even the hard ones are at least, you can get good. The old games just didn't care.
Yeah,
I mean, I know I said that the game doesn't care, it's an algorithm, but some of the NES games, it felt personal. It really did.
I remember the Double Dragon games were ones that you would play, and you could almost never beat the games unless you had a Game Genie.
Which I loved my Game Genie, and I would love like going in there and like tweaking. I spent a million hours on Final Fantasy IV already, but then with the Game Genie, I would take a code and I would change a couple digits just to see what would happen. And I'm very glad I didn't actually break my cartridge with something stupid, because like putting in the pre-programmed codes was all well and good, but then when you're like, oh, I think I get where this is going, and if I change this value to this, and then it's just all pixels. But like, just pixels. Maybe I didn't need that million Excaliburs after all.
I don't think I ever beat the first Double Dragon. I know I beat Double Dragon 2 on the NES. I don't think I ever beat the first one. I think that
beat
stupid
Adobo.
forest level was always the death of me. And no one ever beat 3. If you ever meet anyone that says they beat Double Dragon 3 on the NES, no, they didn't. I mean, they might have, but that means they're not entirely human.
This could be its own discussion. Have you ever met anyone that could actually beat Ninja Gaiden? Because I'm pretty sure.
Ooh, I have.
You did?
No, I didn't. But I know some. I've met someone that has.
Did they cripple their fingers in the effort?
Probably, yeah. Pretty sure, Mike. I'm pretty sure that was Dustin.
Oh, okay, cool.
Before there was a Dark Souls, in an era when games were difficult, Double Dragon, etc., Ninja Gaiden was infamous for how much it would kick you in the nads over and over again.
Yeah.
So who beat it?
Do what?
Who did you say beat it?
I'm pretty sure my buddy Dustin did. He adopted me way back in the day before when I was unemployed. He and his wife, and we hung out a lot. He did a couple of big group 24-hour streams to raise money, and me and Mike and Scott were there for one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I miss Dustin and Kim. I hope they're doing okay.
Yeah, me too.
They moved to Tennessee somewhere and evaporated from the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I actually saw in my Facebook memories, I think yesterday, they had, way back when Lost Ark in Greensboro was in its previous location, and they had arcade games just set up where you could just play them instead of having to, pay to go to the back to play them, which sounds really shady, but it's not. They had Golden Axe, The Rise of Death Adder, or The Return of Death Adder, whatever it's called. I think it's Revenge of Death Adder, which was the one that didn't make it to the Genesis because the Genesis couldn't even. And they had it there, and I was playing it, and Dustin was recording because I was a little guy riding on a big guy who was riding on a giant mantis who had fire catapult mounted to it. And he was like, I got to get a video of this. This is ridiculous. But that video is now set to private, which made me very sad because I was like, oh, dude, I want to watch. No, you can't watch this. Oh.
Did you ever play Altered Beast?
Yeah, everybody played Altered Beast.
Mm-hmm.
It was not as difficult.
No, it was just kind of... Altered
dumb.
Beast...
Tedious.
Do what?
Yeah.
Tedious.
Yeah, Altered Beast was... So for those of you that don't know, before Sonic, Altered Beast was the pack-in for the Genesis here in the States. And it was really more because it was a technical demo. It was like, look at what our system can do, because it looked not just like an arcade perfect, version, but it was way closer than anything that should have been possible at the time. And so that was their pack-in, really, to show off the power of the system. But yeah, it's not great.
No.
I mean, I still enjoy it, but after about I think the first level is wolf, the second level is dragon, the third level is bear, and right about there, I'm like, are we done yet? What are we even doing here?
It would be something if you could choose a form, but it's just you progress through a level, side scrolling, you beat up enemies, and then at a certain point you have enough energy that you transform and you're that creature for the rest of the level, And
if you're doing it right, you're that creature for literally just the boss fight. Because the way you get the energy is there are wolves that will show up at predetermined points, and when you kill the white one in any given group, a little energy ball will pop out, and if you grab 3 of them, then you transform into your beast form. And usually right where the 3rd one is where the boss is. So if you're playing well, you get to be the beast for the boss fight, and then you go to the next level and you're a stupid normal human again.
Yay. I think I only played it a couple times.
I used to love Altered Beast back in the day, and then as I grew up, I was like, man, this game is just not fun, is it?
But it's
so pretty.
A little bit. Yeah. It was pretty. It just... I agree with Mike. I think it was just tedious. And I think even young Brian was like, there are other things I could be doing.
And then you get to the last level and everything hits really, really hard. And you're like, what? Oh, God. Excuse me. All right. I had one of those bitey itches.
Bitey itches?
Yeah, like an itch that sort of feels like something bit you. It's like one of those sudden sharp itches where you're like, oh, God.
No, I didn't mean to sound so incredulous because you say it and I'm like, oh, I get it. I just don't think I'd ever heard it put that way before.
Which is weird because you've known me for a long time.
I have. Like a long time. Like, what the hell am I still doing here?
Pretty much. Oh, man. I am in... Not only am I in Act 3 of Baldur's Gate, finally. I'm in Baldur's Gate, finally.
Oh, good.
The first time...
not for the whole game?
The first time in my life I've ever stepped foot in Baldur's Gate, because in the first game I didn't I wasn't good enough at it to actually get that far. I never played 2, and in this game it takes forever to get there. So I'm in the lower city, but it's still Baldur's Gate.
Are you telling me that in the Baldur's Gate game you go to Baldur's Gate?
Eventually. I was so happy when I finally was able to click on the little thing that said lower city. I was like, oh, that's the titular city. Titular.
I see what you did there. And I was like, there's no way he's going to... Yep.
Well,
class.
It is the titular city. It's the city in the title.
Yes.
Oh, and okay, so real quick. So I was in a place.
You were in a place doing a thing?
I was in a place doing a thing, and I opened up a door, and there were a bunch of people there who were not happy with me. Like, as a group, as a race, essentially. And I was like, uh-oh, there's a fight coming. So I summoned a water elemental, and Will summoned an air elemental, because, water and lightning go really well together in Baldur's Gate 3. And we stepped out, and I realized they didn't have red outlines around them. They were yellow. And I went, oh. Well, okay. So I let one see me, because I was like sneaking around. I was like, okay, I'm going to position everybody, and then we're going to take these fools, because there's 6 of them, and there's 6 of us. We got this. And I went, oh, wait, no. And one of them saw me. A conversation started, and they were like, we're going to get you. And I was like, nuh-uh. And they're like, blah, 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 blah. And then there was an intimidation check. And I was like, let's try it. And I passed the intimidation check, and they all left. And I went, what? And then we got just 7, oh, I can't say that, ass loads of experience.
Wow.
And I went, what? Which is probably about as much as we would have gotten for, killing them all.
Yeah.
But they all just got in their little portals and left. And I'm sitting here with my 2 summons going, okay. But everyone leveled up to 11. The cap is 12. So all of my characters are almost done. So that was exciting. And then I continued on. And I came up through like a hidden door, whatever, into the basement of a tavern. And I opened a door like from the hidden area to the basement proper. And it made the initiative sound.
Oh.
And I went, uh-oh. And I looked up, and at the top of the screen, it shows all of the portraits of everybody involved in combat. And it had my 4 party members and my 2 elementals who are just because they're with me now till long rest, so they're part of the family now. Later, when I got up into the tavern and I saw rules written on the wall and read them, it was like no conjuration, no summoning. And I looked at my 2 guys and I was like, nobody said anything yet. I guess y'all are good. But anyway, so it had my 6 party members, and then all the way to the edge of the screen at the top were just rats. And then at the end of that, it said plus 21. And I went, huh? And I counted how many rats were on the screen, and it was 15. I opened a door and ended up in combat with 36 rats.
That's great.
That
I was like, what? What? And I looked, they all had 1 hit point. And I'm just like, are you... So I grab me, my dirty hippie druid, who hardly ever turns into a bear anymore. He's now just a caster, which is a shame because he's a moon druid. But anyway, and I was like, okay, I'll put a wall of flame here. That'll clear off something like 8 or 10. Like, because it shows, they all got highlighted. I'm like, okay, these are all going to get hit. And I cast it, and there were 2 explosions. And I killed like 20 of them. And I'm like, because I looked. There were only like 8 of them that it hit. Turns out I'd also hit 2 barrels of fire wine.
Oh, cool.
And didn't realize it. And they ignited. And the ensuing explosion, because everything had 1 hit point, just took out like 20 of them. And I was like, oh. And then my warlock cast a fireball over there, thinking that'll hit like 6 more. No, it hit a lot more, because when we got done, there were only 6 left. I was like, what is going on? I don't know if these rats were just hidden and I couldn't see them from where I was standing or what, but because I didn't count 36 rats, but it sure said there were 36 rats. And yeah, then I think
they were in the wine.
Do what?
They were in the wine buckets.
I mean, that happened earlier in the game. There were a bunch of wine barrels that had kobolds in them earlier in the game, so you could be right. But yeah, I think my air elemental ended up, because its main attack is apparently a projectile, and it can target 2 things. So I targeted the last 2 rats, and they died, and I was like, what in the hell was that all about? So I'd never seen the initiative thing at the top of the screen just go all the way across. And then have a plus 21. I was like, excuse me?
That makes me think of the Hall of Bone level that would show up every once in a while in the original Diablo, where the main part of it is this like really cramped room that's just full of skeleton warriors, and there's just one door leading into it. And after a few playthroughs, my brother and I hit on this strategy that we would just use every time from then on out, where we just make sure we can cast or like have a scroll of Flame Wave, and there's open the door, cast Flame Wave, and it just goes from where you're standing all the way to the end of the little room, and just hear the noise of just bones clattering to the floor over and over and over and over again, and items and piles of gold getting dropped by the monsters. And the room is so crowded, and there's so many of them that drop stuff that you have to like walk around. You have to walk around the outer perimeter of the little room to get the gold that was like thrown over the wall when the skeletons dropped it, because it couldn't actually drop in the room.
That's pretty funny.
I had very little exposure to the first Diablo, but everybody remembers the Meadows of the Damned from the Diablo 2. We've talked about it on the show. The secret cow level.
Is that the secret cow level?
And maybe I'm misremembering the name of it, but I'm pretty sure that's close. We've talked about that on the show before, but it's funny Mike mentions this. It's much more spread out than what he's talking about, where it's cluttered with the skeletons. This the meadows is very wide open, but there are so many cows. There are so many cows. And my first playthrough of Diablo 2, I was playing a wizard, and I had built, and usually you might spread out between lightning or ice or other elements, and I went heavy into lightning and ice for just as many area of effect spells as possible. So I pop in there, I see all these cows running at me with halberds, and they're all saying moo, but like it's the designers not making a moo sound, saying the word moo, but like dozens of times as they charge you, and as they die they say it again slightly more excited, like moo. But so many moos as I'm tossing out like ice spell, ice spell, ice spell. And so all you hear is not the clatter of bones, but explosions of ice and moo.
Moo, 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 moo.
Oh.
Yeah, I had the paladin, and the paladin had the multi-hit option. So when he attacks, he would hit like attack, but he would like hit 3 times.
Yeah.
And yes, the piling up in here, moo 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 as you hear
Oddly musical. Gentlemen, it is after 10 o'clock, and it's a bit early for me to head out, but as we are doing a Just Chatting, and these guys know I'm going on about 3 hours of sleep, and maybe a total of maybe 7 hours for the last 48. I think I've done pretty well. I've enjoyed this conversation. You may have noticed that while I'm enjoying that discussion, over the last 20 minutes or so, I may have been a little more quiet. That's because I am fighting to stay conscious. So, gentlemen, this has been a pleasure. I should be good for next week to discuss one of the topics, and Sam won't be in driver's ed, which means she will have 3 more hours each weekday to get her homework done, which means I don't have to stay up with her until the morning. So, but thank you guys for being here for this discussion. You guys feel free to keep going, but I'm gonna bow out now. So, you guys have a great night.
All right, thanks, Brian.
All right.
Oh man, Silksong came out today.
Do what?
Silksong came out today.
Oh, that's that.
You can
Hollow
tell
Knight?
how my dork
Is that a Hollow
friends
Knight
are
game?
not like finger on the pulse of the gaming world.
No.
It's the sequel to Hollow Knight.
Okay.
Yeah, Hollow Knight, which came out in 2017, was a massive indie hit, is regularly found at the top or near the top of, greatest Metroidvanias of all time. I streamed it myself a few years ago finally and was like, holy crap, this game is amazing. Silksong was originally going to be a DLC where you just play as Hornet, who's one of the enemies in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it grew and grew and grew until it got out of control, and they were like, okay, this is not going to be DLC, this is going to be its own game, it'll be the sequel. And then for years we just got drips of information, little bits here and there, with months or sometimes year or more with nothing, to the point where every time there was a Nintendo Direct or a PlayStation, State of Play or whatever, everyone's like, are they going to announce it this one? And I'd be like, no. And they'd be like, screw you, Chewie. And then they wouldn't. And I'd go, Like, it wasn't to Duke Nukem Forever levels of meme, because we knew it was going to release, because Team Cherry, doesn't suck. But I honestly thought we'd get GTA 6 first. And then out of nowhere, 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks and a day ago, they go, big announcement tomorrow. And everyone went, excuse me? And then the big announcement was, it's releasing on September 4th, 2 weeks. And on the one hand, like, that's awesome. Like, that's amazing for, for the players.
Mm-hmm.
It was the most wishlisted game on Steam, and I don't think it was close. Part of that is because, it was announced years ago, and, it's a follow-up to one of the most beloved indie games of all time. But also, like, damn, is it ever going to come out?
Yeah.
But, Dirk, you might have seen this. Either Outside Extra, I think it was Outside Extra, did a video a couple days ago that was like 7 games that were rescheduled to not clash with Silksong. And I hadn't thought about it before. And I'm like, oh, popping up to say, hey, the biggest and most anticipated indie game possibly ever is coming out in 2 weeks, was a real dick move to like other indie developers who had like games scheduled and had full things planned for a long time. And they're like, yep, it's coming out in 2 weeks. And every other indie developer went, oh my God. Because there were a bunch of games that have been shifted. A few of which just don't even have dates now. Like, we don't know. They weren't all about to fully release. One of them was a Kickstarter that was gonna launch because there was a demo already, and they're like, nope, we're pushing that back. One of them was coming out of early access, I think, and they were like, nope, pushing that back. Like, oh, Team Cherry, what have you done to your fellow indie developers? Like, you've just thrown a major monkey wrench. Because, indie games, if they're not already huge, it's really hard to get a foothold. Because, a billion games come out every 30 seconds. And I felt really bad for some of them. I went and added a couple of them that looked really good to my wish list. Because I'm like, oh, damn. But in happier news, it did come out today. Apparently it crashed both Steam and the Switch eShop, which I find hilarious.
That's funny.
But also, to anyone listening, if you haven't bought it yet and you're planning on it, I've got a link in the Discord, in the video games channel, for both Switch and Steam that is my Humble. You can buy it on Humble. What is it? Humblebundle.com or Humble.com. I forgot what the actual website is. It is humblebundle.com. Yeah. Where you can buy it there for either Steam or Switch, and if you do, then I get a small percentage of that. So, by all means, if you're planning on buying it, feel free to buy it there. I'd appreciate it. Using my link, which is, like I said, is in the Discord. I also dropped it on BlueSky for both of them. There's the initial skeet. I don't know if they're still calling it that, but there's the initial skeet, and then the reply to that is the Switch. The initial skeet is the Steam code, or Steam link, and the reply to that is the Switch link. But yeah, and it's only $20? I saw that and I almost lost my mind. I texted Casey and was like, it's only $20 with no context. I said, it's only $20 in all caps. And she was like, yeah. I went, how? She was like, I'm pretty sure when Hollow Knight came out, it was 15. So I was expecting 20. I was like, I was expecting 40 or like maybe 30. She's like, no. Like, I mean, I guess they're going to sell a bazillion copies. So unlike most businesses, they figured they'd take it easy on us, I guess. It's like, we're already going to make all the money. If we lower the price point, we could actually sell more and probably make more money. So yeah, I'm not going to stream it anytime soon, I don't think, just because I've got a lot of other crap going on. But at some point, I will be picking it up and streaming Silksong, because damn. I loved Hollow Knight so much, despite its all of my frustrations with Hollow Knight came from the fact that I was streaming it. And like in a Metroidvania, if I'm wandering around and don't know what to do, that's fine. But if I'm streaming wandering around and don't know what to do, I get frustrated because like I got people watching. Like, what are we? Hurry up. Let's do something. Make some progress. Jesus Christ. So that was all on me. And I'm sure that Silksong is just as good, if not better. So, super excited. Yay. Hashtag not sponsored. Just a gamer. I won't even make the hey Team Cherry if you want to sponsor it, because like 8 people are going to hear this. So So hi Dorks.
Hey. Well, I am also going to have to head on out.
Holdo maneuver.
So, yeah.
Ow.
In my case, I gotta make sure I get up because Chelsea has her knee surgery tomorrow.
Oh yeah, what sort of knee surgery is she having?
She's tore her ACL and the cartilage, and so they're gonna have to go in and do some fixing up.
That's what I did. Right before I met you guys, actually, because it was the summer between sophomore and junior year, so I hadn't actually met any of you yet, I don't think. Okay. Mike wasn't even there yet, but it was that summer when I had all the surgery done and had the brace on and all that. By the time I got to college, I think I only wore the brace a few times just in case. And then I found out I didn't actually need it. I was back to 100% because it happened, of course, right at the beginning of summer. So, hey, screw you, Chewie. Well, do tell her that I feel her pain. Although I did it 20 years ago. So she's probably got it worse than I did.
Yeah.
Because if I were to tear my ACL now, just shoot me.
So, all right. Well, I'm gonna head on to bed. You all have a wonderful night.
Night, Zerk.
Night.
Oof. ACL repair. No, thank you. I mean, I guess part of that is because I can't actually afford to get my ACL fixed, so just shoot me.
Yeah, that makes a difference.
Yeah, but also, no, just shoot me. Especially if it's the same one. Oh, hell no.
Mm-hmm.
Although,
Oh, man.
my orthopedic surgeon did such a good job that I never remember which knee it is. I have to look for the scar.
Oh, wow. That's good.
I have no lingering after effects. Like, I don't know when it's gonna rain. You know, none of that nonsense. Because he was damn good. He's still Mom's orthopedist. She goes to him for shoulder and whatever else. Dr. Brumfield.
Okay.
He was just like a kid when, you know, in doctor terms, in orthopedic surgeon terms, he was just a kid when he did my knee. And now he's like old. Because it's been 20 years. Mike, I don't know if you know this, but when time passes for you, it passes for everybody. It was my left knee. There we go. I remember the first time that I went to take our Christmas presents, the magic cards from ALK Altars, to the Dorks, and I saw Sam for the first time in like 2 years, like during COVID.
Oh, that's right.
And I was like, who are you? Like, in my brain, Sam is still this tiny little blonde girl.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I just spent, you know, a day with her and a friend at Carowinds where she's not a tiny little blonde. She's not tiny or blonde anymore. But when my brain goes, Sam, I don't see the person that I just spent a day at Carowinds with. I see the tiny little blonde girl. Well, she's not tiny, but you know.
Yeah.
It's not still baby Sam, but it's not. It's still like,
Mm-hmm.
like elementary school Sam is who my brain pops.
Right.
At first, and then a different part of my brain goes, no. Oh, right. And then it updates. Like when I came to Brian's house and this dude was standing there. I'm like, who are you? He's like, I'm Trevor. And I'm like, no, you're not. Who are you? What do you mean you're Trevor? You're not a kid. You're a dude. Trevor's a kid. And even that was years ago now. So if I saw Trevor now, I'd be like, yo, dude, where's Trevor? Ow. Anyway, I just thought I'd go there. Are we done, Mike?
Yeah, we are.
Okay. So next week, we will almost certainly be looking at the Spider-Man set. Because, you know, that'll be fully revealed. I mean, it'll be fully revealed tomorrow, but we're not recording this tomorrow, are we?
No.
God, are we? Is it tomorrow, Mike?
Not yet.
Thank goodness. Oh boy, we'll be recording it on the 11th. That'll be a good time. Let's say. So hey, you should go to patreon.com/themanapool. Become a lifeguard. Get you the odds and ends. That's the behind the scenes nonsense before and after each show. Or each Manapool episode. We don't really do odds and ends for the Just Chattings because it's an entire episode of odds and ends. But let me thank our mythic lifeguards. Whew, my throat is dying all of a sudden. I don't know what's going on. Oh, I've got that. It feels like a spot that has gone wrong all of a sudden. Whew. So, let me thank Violet Moon, Timu Hillis Haru, Scuzzo, Michael, Kim Ho, Casey, Jason Kaus, Jason Doan, Jake Jansons, Andrew Odie, ALK Alters, and Al. Yay. Oh my god. Ugh. We've talked about this before, like, there's a sudden, like, I think something's gone wrong. Like, there's a sudden pain in my throat and my mouth tastes funny. Like, I don't smell burnt almonds or whatever it is. So.
Yeah.
Oh well. Mike, you got anything to wrap up?
No, not for this.
Fair enough. So sorry if you were looking forward to the Supply Lines episode on resource management in Dungeons and Dragons. I was too. But like I said, with Dirk being like, hey, I'm going to be late, and Brian being like, I'm going to leave early, decided we shouldn't do something that intense. Not intense. In depth. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. But we'll get to that very soon, because we all put thought and effort into it. I wrote down a bunch of notes. I think the way we're going to do it is I'm going to present how things are in Baldur's Gate, because that's D&D but watered down, and they're going to expand on that with how D&D works. Which I'm very excited about, because I know that they've video gamified a lot of this for Baldur's Gate 3. So yeah, look forward to that, and the Spider-Man set, I guess, if you want to. And yeah. So with that, we will be done with this episode of Dorks Just Chatting. Thank you all so very much for joining us, and go play some game of some sort set in the Three Kingdoms era. I'm absolutely certain you will find a genre you like. I promise.